Do we have anybody new?
Julie, first meeting for Julie.
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. I'm Julie Kabukani from Boston, Massachusetts. And I was invited by Robin, and I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
So Robin, excuse me, Odile, there were two other women who had written to some of the leadership of WILPF, including the Disarm chairs, our executive director, and our two co-presidents, to complain, I think I can call it a complaint, that they had not seen any statement from WILPF US about the attacks on Iran, that they felt that WILPF US should be issuing such a statement. And they also hoped that it would be referred to on CNN and NBC News. And I'm afraid that they have a much higher consideration of our influence, of WILPF's influence in the world. It's very rare that WILPF gets quoted on those major media channels. So we invited those two ladies to come to this meeting to make their complaint. It has now been replied to by our executive director. Okay. Very few of you will have been in this correspondence, but I'm just trying to bring you a little up to date. We wanted to give them...
do have two Iranian members that could write an article, or if they wanted to, you know, one is from Boston. I can't think of her name right this minute.
Nuri Rodi.
No, Nuri is from California.
No, she was born in Iran.
She lives near Santa Barbara.
Yeah, she is an Iranian though.
Yeah,
So,
she's an Iranian.
right.
But we have another woman who is Iranian and a professor in Boston.
Oh yeah, I remember her.
She wrote for the Middle East Task Force a couple times about Iran.
And her name
On
is
the peace and freedom.
Val Moghadam.
Oh yeah, Val Moghadam.
Okay, the point is though here is that we had two not Iranian people making a complaint that they didn't see anything coming out of WILPF as a statement condemning the attacks. However, WILPF International has done two blogs on this very topic, condemning it. And if you look at the agenda 4C, I've given you, and we have sent it now to Disarm, a link to the blog by our international colleagues who have written a very fine statement that they have issued. Okay.
Maybe we should put that on the WILPF US
that is
website.
Yeah, that is what. So even better than that, our executive director is working with our web manager, okay, who only works certain hours. All right, you can't phone them up at 3 o'clock in the morning on Saturday and say, do this. All right, you have to wait for their working hours. But that statement will be reproduced on the WILPF website, WILPF US website. Okay.
Good.
So,
That's great.
But the two ladies who said, you know, have made this complaint, we invited them to come.
Okay, but we have to move on.
Yes, so Robin.
No, we have a few more
We
minutes.
have made a statement, a very short statement, right? And so
WILPF US did not issue a condemnation statement. I suggested through an email what you all could do. I'm much more interested in you doing actions than issuing statements that maybe nobody would ever watch or read.
Okay, in other words, you're saying that only Disarm has issued the statement that we worked on?
I'm not sure which statement.
Oh, maybe I'm getting it confused with my Quaker meeting. Sorry, I'm
talking about.
That's what we're here for now, is we want to talk about putting together a statement and maybe get some people who want to be involved in that. If there's anybody who would like to draft the first statement, that would be great. Odile.
I just wanted to say that I didn't organize a statement, but I organized a demonstration, and 100 Iranian came. I was surprised. I thought we were going to get just a couple people. And no, it was 100 people in Ann Arbor that came to that demonstration. It was with Linda Wan, who is part of the coalition against the war in Ann Arbor. So we both organized it, and I spoke about WILPF.
Right. So
Time for number 2 is up.
yeah, thank you. So just the point is, we did ask all of you to be phoning your senators and your representatives to complain to, there were 2 bills that you could have they could support. I think they still, the bill coming to the Senate hasn't come yet. And the other one, Mike Johnson refused to bring it to the floor.
Could you
Okay.
put the bill numbers in the chat, Cheryl?
Not right now, no.
Could I ask whether anyone here has a Republican
Email, Grace,
representative
do I
or a
send you the
senator?
link or-
Because most of us come from
Hi.
progressive places where
Yes,
they
yes.
already are of our opinion.
Right.
We
A
certainly
tax
not.
code. Okay, well, hang on. just a-
Robin, there is such a thing as
know.
a
I don't
Democrat
know
that
why.
acts like a Republican, and I did
Yeah,
send it to
but-
one of those.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you. And so Judith had told us time was up.
Okay.
But I just wanted to say that Kane's bill did not pass. It only got 47 votes. That's
So-
the war resolutions.
When did it actually happen,
Today.
Diane?
Today, this
Today.
afternoon.
Right, and I
Wait
sent
a
you all
minute,
another
what are you
message.
talking about, Diane? What came to a vote?
Kane's wars resolution,
War
that
powers.
President War Powers resolution, the
Can I
president,
send it to your
It
email?
failed.
yes.
Okay, all right, I'll send you the.
47 votes for.
Thank you, Diane. I think I got, there's a
think
lot
I
of
have it, Mary
over-talking
White,
going
but-
on today.
Okay, all right, bye.
That was Ellen talking to somebody on the phone.
I'm talking to Mary Grace, who she and Mary White are not able to get in, so I'm sending them the link. So I'm sorry, I should have.
Well, let's squeeze them in later in the agenda.
Well, that's terrible to hear that the proposal was
War
not,
powers
did
resolution.
not passed.
Mhm.
And I felt bad because I didn't call my senator and he didn't vote for it. Senator Peters.
Mhm. Okay, Odile, I think we can move on.
Okay. Approval of Disarm Committee minutes of June 8 R1 version, and Cheryl is on for 2 minutes.
Okay, well, you got the R0 several days ago, and then there was one very small but significant change that I made and sent you all the R1 with the agenda. And I would suggest not hearing any other objections, that they become approved.
I approve.
I approve.
Okay, thank you.
Now we are in 4 hot topics, total 15 minutes. Gaza-Israel situation. Who wants to speak? Well, I will then, from the Middle East Committee. We haven't met recently that I know of, but they're still killing people. And what's terrible is they're killing people while people are coming to get food from this American program. And then the IDF is shooting them. So 100 people today were killed. I think it's today and yesterday maybe.
Yeah.
But 100 people is a lot of people. And and in French, I get news from Gaza, more news from Gaza than from my American Instagram. And they say it's terrible because they're going to divide the population. They're going to let go of a part of the population of Gaza to go outside. And they're going to divide, and the other one they're going to massacre, because divide to conquer. and then they're just going to grab the land, and for 2 weeks there is no rule. So it's going to be a time to watch and a time to call your Congress people if you can.
I see Joan's hand.
Oh, Joan?
Yes, Odile, I saw and everybody, I saw something today that claimed that the IDF, the Israelis are claiming, military are claiming that they only shoot people before the time this place is supposed to be open, and that their people are supposed to stay back from the entrance until it's time for it to open. So anybody who gets closer than they're supposed to get may get shot. And so, as you have said, several people have been shot. So that's something that I saw today, and I can try to find where it was, but it seemed like it was something that, you know, that the IDF people or the people running the Israeli people running the food distribution point are putting out.
We heard the American guy who runs this program on NPR, and he said that it's not the IDF that shoot people, it's Hamas. So I don't know what to think of that.
I think it's a lot of false messaging.
Yeah.
But definitely people are getting it, and it's not just a few. I look at the BBC every day. The BBC News tells me how many were killed the day before.
Yeah.
50, 25, 75. It's different every day.
Al Jazeera is reporting 60 people killed today.
Yeah. So maybe, you know, are these shot?
Still ongoing.
It's terrible. I mean, just because they have a raison d'etre doesn't make it ethically okay. You know, so somebody,
especially the people are suffering. The humanitarian crisis is horrendous. You know, it's children, women, you know, that are displaced, living in tents, and that is not right.
Yep.
I mean, I'm appalled that our government is not doing more, you know, at least, you know, to ease, you know, the suffering. This is too much. It's just.
And not just our government, but all the European governments.
The European countries, yes. I mean, you know, all the richest country in the world.
Complete silence.
I see Alan and then Nancy hand.
Oh, Alan and then Nancy.
There's a group called Doctors Against Genocide. It meets weekly. They had a doctor from Gaza on for about an hour this morning or this noon, describing the situation on the ground and identifying that whatever work this humanitarian fund is, it's completely misplaced because you have to travel to get to these distribution points, and anybody in a wheelchair or aged or child or hobbled or lost a limb, the people who are really in need are excluded from access to these distribution points. And they say that the Gazans are, to a person refusing to cooperate, the organizations to cooperate with this humanitarian fund. Very, very distressing, but I recommend this group, Doctors Against Genocide, and they call this an American genocide. The only response is action. An American genocide, they describe it. This is, the coordinator is a doctor from Dearborn, Michigan.
Thank you. I'm glad to hear this.
Over time.
All right. So Nancy, but yeah, Judith just said we're over time, but I think Nancy had her hand up already.
Nancy.
There, you're muted, Nancy. Thank you. Yep, thank you. was it on Thursday or Friday? There was on the internet a video, short video documentation of protests in Tel Aviv. I'm not sure if they were elsewhere, but in Tel Aviv, there were some very dramatic protests and against Netanyahu, against the bombing of Iran, and the need to stop the war and try to see if there are any hostages to bring back, either, of course, live or their bodies. So it was very impressive. I was quite amazed, actually. I think you could probably find it if you just, you know, do an internet search with a couple of words.
Yeah, CNN also broadcasted it
So
today.
did they have it? Yeah, maybe that's where I saw it.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
See,
Thank
Mary?
you, Nancy. And Mary, Grace?
Thanks. I was putting in the chat. I just wanted to be sure everyone knows that the American component is the mercenaries from Blackwater and Blackwater XE.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
They're the ones who
Yeah.
are supposedly helping to run the distribution. Is that what you mean, Mary?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Yep. And it's
also,
you know, Eric Prince.
Aren't there concerns that there are gangs that Hamas is organizing that are also perhaps responsible for some of the killings?
Oh, come on.
Well, that's what Odile
That's ridiculous.
said. Odile said she had read that.
Yeah.
Well, we read a lot of
I heard
things.
that on NPR.
Yes.
So hard to know what is true.
Yeah.
That's true, but one can imagine what can be true.
Right, and what is highly unlikely,
Mhm.
like Hamas killing people going for food.
Mary Grace, you said you put something in the chat, but I don't see it showing up. Did you click
She's
the little
writing
blue
it. She's
arrow?
probably writing it.
Oh, okay, fine.
I was trying to respell mercenaries.
We're 3.5
Okay.
minutes over time.
We have now to speak about Ukraine. Anybody's hand up that I can call on?
I could just say that the link, this is Robin, that the link that was given, that Cheryl, I guess, selected was very interesting, with all of the maps showing where there was Russian invasion and where there was pushback from Ukraine and all of the different segments. And thank you for finding that.
Right, because this war has been going on a long time, and you a lot of the stuff got pushed out of the headlines by the attacks on Iran by Israel and then by our own government. So a lot of stuff that used to rise to the top on my website, my news, you know, got pushed down. So that's why I thought that review, which you're all welcome to go look at after the meeting, it's in the agenda.
What about, okay.
So I don't know, you know, we should continue, you know, everything we need to do relies on us interacting with our Congress people, both the representative and your senators. Yeah, Eileen.
Eileen Perkowski.
Yeah, I also want to say that I appreciated the articles. I hope they are accurate. They probably are. And I also was hoping Glow is on to confirm some of the the things that were attributed to certain leaders within Ukraine.
Gloria is not coming to the meeting today.
And that's unfortunate. I was hoping for her feedback, but that's okay. I just appreciated they were fine articles, helpful.
Alan?
Yes, I saw that the president of Ukraine put out a statement for the creation of a council of responsibility or something, saying that everyone involved in any war crimes should be identified and tried to the maximum extent of the law. And in some way, that seems like part of the politics of the game. But in another way, I think that that is something to identify with. This was an illegal invasion and a violation of law. And in general, we look toward some sense of truth and reconciliation, which response to this would direct to that, and that somewhere in the horrendous interactions, there needs to be a sense of how the moral horrendousness is somehow redeemed in some kind of movement toward an actual peace, reconciliation, and cooperation. There has to be a sense of resolution that deals with the moral redemption rather than simply a legal working out of the law, because that's not going to get anywhere. But the sense of rising above this to see what would actually be a peace that could allow people to move forward. Anyhow, Zelensky putting forward this sense of what is the accountability, I think raises to us in some way the question of, well, how do we actually address the question of accountability? So I wanted to say that without actually a programmed sense, but truth and reconciliation and an overall sense of a peace that is a redemptive resolution of long-standing difficulties. So that's what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Alan. Robin Lloyd.
Yeah, I would just respond that it seems to me that there are a lot of people in the Donbass region and in the other areas that are Russian speaking, as I understand it. And do we have any idea where they would like to be, what country they would like to be part of? I mean, that issue hasn't been dealt with. I mean, it's just assumed that Russia is occupying it and everyone under Russian control is oppressed. Maybe they want to be under Russian control. I don't know, but it seems to me this there should be negotiations, obviously. That's what needs to happen.
Okay,
Instead of shooting.
Cheryl Spencer.
Yes, so I'll be brief. The idea of a Truth and Reconciliation Commission, that's happened. They tend not to happen till sometime after the ceasefire and the fighting has finished. It's a fine idea, but I don't see it happening very soon. And oh, I've forgotten what was the second thing I was going to say. Yes, it was Robin. It has been suggested. Okay, it has been suggested that there should be a referendum across the whole country, where people get asked, under which regime do you want to live? And they get given several different things, and so that's the Donbass region that people would be asked, who do you want to be in charge, etc. So these are all ideas that are floating about that the experts have told us about. Thank you.
Okay. Well, I don't see anybody else, so we can move on to diffuse nuclear war. And
this is to do with the bombing of Tehran. And
Israel and US bombing of Tehran and other Iranian city and nuclear facility. Report any Zoom meeting anyone attended on this topic. We have 5 minutes and it's 8:04.
Also, I would say that we now have been joined by Mary Grace and Mary White, who we had hoped would be here when we were on item 2.
So maybe they should
because they were
announce themselves.
And they were
Mary Grace, can you announce who you are?
and say,
Sure.
yeah, you were
So I'm-
complaining that that WILPF US had not made a statement about this.
Right, yes. Both Mary White initiated her concern and I seconded it. Yeah, so my name's Mary Grace. I live in Durham, North Carolina, and I know Mary White from our work together on Medicaid expansion. And I know Ellen from a gazillion years ago for Proposition 1 in DC, and my husband did some of Thomas's cases. So yeah, that's who I am, and I'm grateful to be here.
Okay, thank
yeah.
you. And welcome. Mary White, can you say something?
Good evening, everyone. I'm sorry I didn't have a way to get in completely at the beginning. I've been waiting for this meeting. I'm glad to be able to be here. I'm looking forward to what the outcome can be from this meeting because I have been searching for a WILPF US statement, against this war because I thought that was appropriate. And so I look forward to the outcome of this meeting. And I thank you for inviting me to be here with you.
Would you like to join a group that is going to make a statement on this issue? Would you like to be part of it?
Certainly, that's why I'm here.
Okay, very good.
So which war are we talking about?
The war in Iran.
That we're talking about in particular the bombing of Tehran, other Iranian cities, and the nuclear weapons facilities.
And specifically by 2 nuclear states.
Right.
And it was
Israel and
first bombed by Israel and then was bombed by Trump, by the US, against the chief of air army that was fired by Trump.
And the chief security officer, I forget her name, Tulsi Gabbard, also stated that Iran was not attempting to create a nuclear weapon. So,
okay, Cheryl.
Yeah. So just to say, Mary White, you did receive an answer from our executive director by email yesterday, which I hope you have seen, where Linda Lowe explained that there was an excellent condemnation statement issued by WILPF International 3 or 4 days prior, and which she felt nicely, covered what WILPF US also thinks. And she is working with our web manager. Our web manager doesn't work on the weekend. Okay, we have to wait for such people to come in on regular business hours to put that statement onto the WILPF US website. Okay, and and Ellen Thomas has said that, maybe Disarm could also write a statement. That is, so we need people to do that. So I see Mary White, you have offered, and I've lost track who else has offered to work on that statement.
I've raised my hand, and it's because I wrote an article. Well, it's not an article, it's just a page for a talk that I was going to provide at the NIAC Iranian group gathering at the JFK building in Boston this past Thursday. I had other conflicts, and it went on and on, a lot of excellent speakers, and I didn't have a chance to share this, but my letter writing group felt it should go into a news article, and they are submitting it. I don't have the bandwidth to deal with that again. They're usually rejected as the reason. If you want me, my approach is not just on opposing this attack on Iran, but it's looking at a broader way that we have to change our system. Deal with both existential threats that are going on, and just stop the overall grow attitudes that various nations who are using and wanting more nukes, more fossil fuels. If you want me on this panel, I would be glad to help.
If I understood correctly, I believe I might have been asked about my willingness to be involved with this group and with the action that they're taking. And my response would be that yes, I did receive information from the executive director, a very nice letter, but I also received a comment from Mary Beth Garden, I think that's the name. And I'm in the process of responding to that as we speak, actually. But and one of the things that I'm saying in there is that, yes, I did see and read a good deal of the statement that was written by WILPF International. Thought it was very exceptional, but I also thought that that did not absolve WILPF US from making its own statement, because this is where the conflict has originated, this most recent one. And so, you know, until WILPF US steps up and takes responsibility for speaking out, I would still consider that somewhat of a disappointment. But yes, the WILPF international statement is exceptionally well formed. And I'm also saying in my statement that I'm preparing for this most recent person who contacted me, is that I considered the fact that international purposely waited before responding, because I looked for a response from WILPF almost immediately. And they took a good week before they would respond. My opinion is that the reason that they did is because they were waiting for WILPF US to speak up. And so I don't think that what international does should just be accepted by US. But that's just my opinion. I'm a new member. You know, I'm learning and I'm to understand what is going on, but I'm just being real about what I would have expected from WILPF US.
Thank you for clarifying. Just keep in mind that the executive director, called a secretariat for international, is new, as is our ED for the US. It's a fast learning curve for both of them. And I think we could work together with some of my ideas. And I too condemn what the US is doing. There's no doubt about that. And if my broader picture and approach is not appropriate, it's fine. It's up to you and Odile and whomever else joins this group.
Anybody else wants me to speak about that, or we
Yes,
should
so
go?
just to point out, there were two blogs, two statements out of international. The one, as I've just putting the link in, and I was just going to look at the date that it was sent. Just let me have a look. On the 19th of June. Okay, on the 19th of June, they WILPF International had a statement, and then they had another statement, which is the one I put in the agenda, which was on the 27th of June. So the 19th of June strikes me as pretty soon after this started happening. Okay, and I'm just putting that into the chat so you can all see it. Okay, so I don't think we can accuse our international people from dragging their feet.
Been 9 minutes on this.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I lost my agenda.
You mean at the piece of paper, you can't find it?
Yeah, I
on your
just
desk?
had it, and now.
So how are we going to do this group? How are we going to handle this?
But my agenda is right in front of me. You want me to keep time and keep you on the agenda?
Sounds
Ask-
good.
Ellen's asking a different question, which is,
I got it.
are we going to have a disarm
She found
committee
it.
subcommittee that's going to work on a disarm statement? Right, Ellen? That's what you're asking.
Right, and as I understand it, Eileen is offering to give us a first draft.
I will send you what I have right now if you want. I need email addresses if you put those in the chat. I know yours, E.T., but
Well, I'm still going to say what I'm doing here. So,
So Mary White has said she will help, and Eileen said she'll get it started, and we maybe need another. And Ellen Thomas, were you going to help?
yes.
All right, so 3 people is probably enough.
Great. Well, thank you for offering to do that.
Okay, so if you
would
put
like to-
your email and your cell phone number for texts.
I would like to ask Mary Grace if she would help as well, because she has been a long time peace activist and has great deal of experience in this area, and I think probably has been a part of this group longer than I have. I still feel relatively new. As I'm willing to work, but you know, I feel that I need guidance because you know, I still consider myself a new WILF member.
Thanks, Mary. I am rather swamped, but I would be happy to read something but I don't think I can be involved with from the get-go, if that makes sense.
Understand, because I'm in
But
this.
also I haven't been in WELF for that long either. I've been peripherally involved, but not a member for just a while.
Well, if the people who are willing to work on it at some level, if we could all be on one email list, and then as it develops, we can see what's going on and put our 2 cents in and do it by email.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
So
the point being is, yeah, more time has passed, and you can now comment on what's going on now. The fact that Trump says he's going to bomb them again if he thinks they're close to making a weapon. So the story is not ended, and it would be great if you could make a statement that deals with what's happening, today.
And that he is ignoring what Tulsi Gabbard says, his own analyst.
All right.
Please put your email addresses in the chat so you'll all have them.
Oh, doesn't everything go out to everybody?
No.
Oh, okay.
There are 70 people on our
this
list.
is a subcommittee.
okay, mine's in there now. Copy, paste.
There's Eileen.
Well,
let me see.
Okay, now, are we finished with this issue?
I put my wrong phone number in there. I don't know why.
Oh dear.
So we need to move on to diffuse nuclear war.
that is where we've been. That's where we've been.
Okay. But
so now we're on 5.
Okay, 5 campaign report.
And I can leap into little I. All right.
Okay, go ahead.
Continue to press for disarmament. All right. So I promised that I would edit a trifold brochure to concentrate on the 80th anniversary of the bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The brochure that we were using for the last 2 or 3 years concentrated on the Oppenheimer film, and we made it so we would hand it to people leaving the cinemas after seeing the Oppenheimer film. So I've changed that particular column to say that it's now the 80th anniversary and we need to get rid of these weapons. And I've updated all the resolutions and the bills that are currently in Congress dealing with these issues. And I've actually sent, so thank goodness Ellen Thomas has her own website called prop1.org. And so when we want to put something out quickly, I can depend on Ellen doing it, because as I've told you, it takes a while for our web manager and our IT to do this kind of thing. So I believe I've already sent you the link to that. Okay. Also, I wrote Disarm e-news. Every month there is an e-news. Disarm committee chairs make sure we have something in the Disarm e-news, in the general e-news. So here is what it looks like now. So that left-hand column is a lot of it's the same, but you'll see the headline says it's 80 years since the only nuclear weapons exploded in war destroyed Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Let them be the last. All right. And that's a nice picture of Hideko there. And the QR code will take you to a 7-minute video of her talking about how awful it was to be in Hiroshima that morning. And then promote legislation, bottom right there. Then we have the HR 1888, and then there are 2, which is a bill, and then 2 resolutions. We don't have as many bills this year.
Do you have the Norton bill?
Yes, that's the first one. HR
Okay.
1888 is the official number.
Oh, yeah, I see.
All right, so.
And let me show where this is. It's on the prop1.org page right at the top. So
right. And
right here. So
there
you
you
see
go.
that.
All right. So it's my intention, it's on my very long to-do list, is to send it to Glenn Ruger, who helps to get things onto our website, and ask him to put it now in the Disarm Committee resources section, because the old one is there. All right. We want to replace it with this newer version, but I'm expecting you all to print it out and hand it out and be ready to hand it to your friends, your family, people in the checkout line at the grocery store, whoever you think needs to know about this, that it's the 80th anniversary. We've also updated the 1945 timeline that Robin Lloyd and I and some other people put together in 2020, which takes you through the major events that were happening in 1945 that ended up with 2 important things. One was the dropping of the 2 bombs, and the other was the starting of the United Nations. Those 2 events, the processes that led to was happening at the same time. And so I will be advertising that timeline strongly again. I've pointed out in the revised timeline that we had 7 webinars that summer, okay? Webinars were a new thing back then. This is 5 years ago. And so luckily for us, Ellen Thomas keeps track of the recordings. She puts them on our YouTube channel, and you can go see those webinars again, because unfortunately they're all still relevant. And there's a very nice one of Hideko Tamura talking about a 1-hour interview by Ellen Thomas about just how awful it was to be, you know, in wherever it was. She was, you know, in a building not that far from ground zero. And she's now 90. She will be going to Hiroshima for August. She leaves July the 30th. Her daughter is helping her to get there because she's an old lady now. And she will be a VIP. So they have these ceremonies in Hiroshima and then in Nagasaki on the 6th and the 9th of August. She tells me she will be like on the front row, because there are fewer and fewer Hibakusha living because they're dying because they're old. And so anyway, so that's what and Ellen Thomas is going with her daughter and granddaughter. So we're hoping that they will be able to meet up, and maybe Ellen Thomas can interview Hideko while they're in Hiroshima. I think that would be a very strong purpose of a video, and then that will be posted in our YouTube channel. And then because I'm on the National Planning Committee, there's a National Planning Committee trying to get a lot of things going on. This will be advertised widely, and there's a Physicians for Social Responsibility has an interactive calendar where you can post your events so that more people will know they're going on. So I will be putting, for example, on the July the 16th, and again, you've been receiving emails from Ellen about this. July the 16th, there is a webinar commemorating the Trinity test, which was the very first bomb that was ever exploded, happened in New Mexico, and there's a great deal of fallout from that. And Hideko will be on it. Tina Cordova, who we've had before and is in fact in one of those 2020 webinars that we recorded back in 2020. That was like the first time we'd heard of these people, the downwinders in New Mexico. And so Tina Cordova, in the meantime, has managed to, you know, make a big noise about the fact that there were people there who were affected by the radioactive fallout. So here is the playlist. So Ellen puts them all in one place. Different people. There's her. Okay.
It's the Disarm playlist.
The Disarm playlist, and then within that, she's got sub playlists that tell you.
And this is her hour-long interview that she did with me 5 years ago for Nagasaki Day.
And it's still very, very relevant. So I'm going to be re-advertising this.
I'm Ellen Thomas.
I'm sorry that I pop up there.
That's all right.
It's nice to have you pop up.
Yes.
But she has photographs of, you know, what her mother looked like, what her family looked like. It's a very impressive and you know, she really realized how awful it was and why.
Because I still had
how you know. So we were going to interview her again, but I'm thinking because we hear that the Global Women United Against NATO intend to interview her from Europe as they're doing it. I think that interview we did in 2020 is just fine.
Yeah, and we have a new interview.
For 3 minutes past time.
Thank you.
She'll be speaking at the July 16th event.
Right.
And so we can clip that and share it with people.
Right. So, and that'll be recorded, right? And so again, I will be making sure this stuff gets advertised on the PSR calendar, for example, because
thank you.
It doesn't have to just be a specific date, but it can say, you know, go watch this at your convenience. Okay, so so that was. I'm hoping your branches, if you're a member of a branch, that you are thinking of what you can do. My own branch, we will have Helen Jacquard from the Golden Rule speaking at a public meeting here in Los Altos down the road on August the 8th. Okay, between the two bombings. Golden Rule was the ketch that tried to go to the Marshall Islands back in the 1950s to stop the testing. They were pushed back. The ketch sank somewhere. It was resurrected, and now they're going to be sailing down the California coast, arriving in the San Francisco Bay just before August the 6th. And when the ketch is in anywhere they go, they hold meetings. They invite people to come look at the boat. And for a small donation, you can take a trip on this ketch on whatever river or bay it is docked at. So Helen Jacquard gives an excellent talk on this. So she talks about the ketch and then the need to abolish nuclear weapons. So lots of resources for you to use. If the very least, pick up that 2020 interview from Hideko and get your branch to watch it on a Zoom. Okay, that's
we've got Joan and Nancy have their hands raised.
I'll shut up. Thank you.
Now that was 10 minutes.
Okay, Joan.
This is ridiculously petty and everything compared with all the things wonderful things you've been telling us. But I just want to know whether the QR code is the only way that people can connect from the brochure, or whether there is also a lettered link. And maybe we don't want to talk about this now, but And maybe it's time for those of us who don't use QR codes to catch up with the rest of the world, but I just had to say it. Thank you.
Let me
And
just
it's
say,
a wonderful report.
that goes to a totally different video. I clipped it from a documentary that was also called Oppenheimer by a different director. And I took her 7 minutes. I stole it. I maybe shouldn't have done that, but I stole it. I made a 7-minute clip, and that is what you will see with that QR code in the brochure. Okay. It's a different thing from the YouTube 1-hour interview I'm talking about.
Yeah, I'm just talking about the use of QR codes.
Yes, it's a good thing for you. If you have an iPhone, you need an iPhone to actually use the QR code.
Oh, boy.
Or an interactive phone made by some company.
Another reason that
You
it's
need a
not good
camera
to
of
just
some
have
sort.
those. Nancy Price is waiting.
That's okay. Well, finish your conversation.
No, that's
Yeah,
it.
I'm
That's
done.
it. I didn't want to take a lot of
Okay,
time. with it.
Nancy.
Okay, I just wanted to ask, Cheryl, did you see the email from Glenn Ruga that he's going on vacation?
I did.
Oh,
And
okay, good. Yeah.
yes, and it's not quite yet, so we have a
No, it's not. It's
time to
coming
catch
up.
up. Yes,
It's
thank
coming
you.
up. Yeah.
Okay, do we have anything else on report on action within our various coalition?
Oh yeah, we have lots.
Okay.
You're at Norton's bill, I believe.
Right.
Norton bills, well, we can start with that, and then we'll go to the notice of abolition 2000.
Oh, good. Excuse me.
Right. So it's me again. So we've had these things called Tactical Tuesdays. There were 4 of them.
Oh.
You all heard about them through an e-alert, which would have gone to all 1,200 members. Okay. About 30 people registered to say they would attend those 1-hour sessions where you were going to give information about a particular bill that was in Congress and how to talk about it to persuade your Congress, either House member or your senators, to vote for that bill or vote against it if necessary. Okay. Of the 30 people who registered, about 10 turned up each time. To me, I was quite disappointed with this, but Disarm had a session where we in particular talked about the Norton bill and needing co-sponsors. All right. So each of the 4 Tuesdays, the issue committee in charge of that Tuesday's event developed some background material, developed a script, and told you, what to say as you actually spoke to the staff person in your representative's office. Rarely do you actually get to speak to the rep themselves. You get to speak to a staff person or a voicemail. So it is our intention now, and I offered to the program committee. The program committee of WILPF is made up of all the issue committee chairs, that I would collect all that information together and send it out in Word, because you can phone your representative anytime. You didn't have to just do it that Tactical Tuesday, okay? And so the information there is still relevant, okay? We still need co-sponsors for the bill. One of them was about immigration. There are, the immigrants are being mistreated, the ones who are being hauled out of the fields and what have you, and put in detention centers. So that was another issue that was dealt with. The first one was about this awful bill, the so-called big, beautiful bill. That was what that was about. So anyway, I think this is Mary Beth Garden's idea. I think it was a fine idea. She really helped us try to do it. To me, it was a little disappointing how few people did it. But anyway, so that was
Is
Well,
it going to be tried again? Are you
Pardon?
going to try-
We have a couple more days. We can still do it.
You can look back at the e-alert and see. Some of the issues are ongoing. The immigration issues, the needing a co-sponsor for 18888 is still there. The big beautiful bill, again, I don't think it. They were
It's
going
still
to try to
4th.
vote.
It's going to finish up on, he
By the
wants
4th.
a vote by July 4th.
Right. And I thought they were twisting arms and it was going to happen today in the Senate.
No, they're having trouble with it.
Yes, I know that.
That
I know
They
that.
are
That's
twisting
why
arms.
those of you who have Republican senators, really, today you can call them. And I sent that to Wilf Branches. Many of you
Yeah.
are on the Wilf Branches list. And I asked the liaisons who get it to forward it to their branch members. Okay. And I know
have a senator who said that he's not going to run again because he Republican Senator Tillis, Mary Grace and Mary White, I believe, have the same senator, and I'm proud of him. He's standing up
voting against it.
Yeah.
Right. Anyway, so
But
these
he
are the
does so many other things that are just horrible. So yeah,
I know. Well, maybe he got religion.
it's true.
all
My
right.
hand is up.
Oh, yes.
Odile, Judith's hand is up.
Okay.
I wanted to ask these Tuesdays, our Tactical Tuesdays, are you going to try them again at all, or have you given up on the idea because it was not well enough attended?
The discussion has come to the conclusion that July and August are probably not good months anyway, because the representatives tend to be home, and that maybe in September we'll try again. Maybe.
That's a good idea.
You know, people have to have the enthusiasm and the bandwidth to do it.
I think it's a really good idea, so I hope you do try it again in September.
Yeah.
Mary Grace has her hand up.
Oh, Mary?
Yes, I just wanted to say that somebody in Democracy Out Loud renamed the big beautiful bill as the big brutal bill, which keeps that alliteration, and I think it's a really excellent way to reframe it.
Yeah.
Everybody knows what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And what the Reverend Barber sent out through the Poor People's Campaign today, which is what I forwarded to Wilf Branches. I mean, he had, you know, it was there was a whole bunch of words. You know, it's going to mean death to a whole bunch of people. He concentrates on the poor in particular, and Medicaid being taken away from them obviously is going to affect them. And then this whole Planned Parenthood defunding, I mean, that's not in particular in that bill, but it is, the House is trying to defund Planned Parenthood, upon which many women and girls get their regular health care, not just to do with reproductive things. So, I mean, there's just too many things, you know, there's so many that we should be tackling at this time. And I'm sure you all get the same emails I do. I get them from Ms. Magazine. I get them from, you know, Code Pink. I get them from Global Fund for Women, and so on and so forth. So please be reading those organizations' information and following through on what they ask you to do.
Then we have another two is report on action within our various coalition.
Yes.
And there is especially Abolition 2000, 30th annual general meeting.
Right. And I gave you,
Cheryl, you have 5 minutes to
I gave you the link. That is a meeting. Abolition 2000 actually has about over 1,000 organizations that have signed on to that. We're one of them, WILPF US, and they have a meeting that they do online where people report, and they do it twice. They do it for the Asia, Africa, India group, who are in a different time zone, and then they do the whole thing again to be convenient for Europe and the US. And so I can actually listen to it at 9 a.m. here in California. So this is the global movement for nuclear disarmament, and they've pushed, you know, been doing this for 30 years. So last year they asked groups who are with them to write a report on what they've been doing the last year, and I said I would do that. I did it last year. I submitted a report on what Disarm Committee and WILPF US had been doing for the previous year. I'm afraid that it got lost, much to my annoyance. It never popped up on their website. So I said I'm going to do it again this year, and I'm going to push, because Jackie Cabasso, who we all know from Mayors for Peace, is one of the leaders of this Abolition 2000. So
We also know her from her being a member of WILPF.
right. Yes. Yes. So she is, anyway, so you can, if you follow the link in the agenda, you will come to the website, which it tells you, and you can register for free. Okay. And you will hear people from all over the world talking about what they're doing towards nuclear disarmament. So it's a network that's a very good network for us to belong to.
Now we are coming to promote peace via treaty with Judy. Judy Hand.
Yeah. So this is just kind of an update of since the last Zoom meeting where I talked. We had the Jane Addams branch Zoom that Diane put together. And I had personally sent an invitation to that branch to come to that Zoom to every, the head of every WILPF branch. Personal invitation, please come, and this will explain what resources you have to deal with this issue of trying to get a global treaty to end war. And I wasn't disappointed. I was shocked. I was shocked when I think only 3 branch people came. So I'm trying to assess now what that means for how PEP can, how we can get our idea out there about these peace treaty petition parties. The peace treaty petition parties are meant to do 2 things. First of all, have people come to your house and watch the video that debunks the idea that war is inevitable. That's really important. People have to know it's not inevitable, it's a choice. And it proposes a plan called putting together a world peace system that would do the job. So that's what they do. They come to your house, they learn all that information, and then you offer them the opportunity to sign a petition. And we need to be effective, like 100,000 signatures on that petition. So you would have to have a lot of parties given, with a lot of people coming, seeing the video, and then signing that petition. Well, that didn't work. The first effort to get people in the WILPF, who were the leaders of WILPF branches, to come and find out how to do this, did not work. So what I'm thinking at this point, rather than just throwing out my hands and giving up, I'm thinking maybe I want to ask a question. For all of you who have experience with WILPF and the WILPF branches, do most of these branches meet in person, or do they meet via Zoom?
Zoom.
Pardon?
Zoom.
Fabulous. Okay. If they meet during Zoom, my next approach, or what I'm thinking of doing, is offering to the leaders of the branches, if you will set up a Zoom meeting with your branch, I personally will come and give this party. I personally will come and play the video for them and talk about the video and what it's about, and get all of your people who come to that Zoom meeting to sign the petition. So that's going to be my next attempt. I don't know, I have to talk with Diane and maybe talk with Cheryl or somebody else as to whether that's a good idea or not. But I didn't want to give up entirely on hoping that WILPF would help out with this. So that was the main thing to report from that meeting. The second main thing, however, was that Ellen did a fabulous job of editing it. I had made the tactical blunder of showing the video. I talked a lot. I explained about the petition. I took everybody to the PEP website, showed them how to use it, showed them the resources that were on it. And then I said, now let's watch the video. That was the wrong way to do it. And Ellen picked that up right away. In her recording that she edited, she moved the video up right in front. That is a much more effective way to do it. I'll never make that mistake again. One of my own PEP team members said that right away. Judith, show the video right up front. People get excited after they see the video, not when you start talking to them. So that was useful. It was, I consider it the off-Broadway production. That was a try. And we found out what didn't work, and then we'll give it another try some other way.
I'm not in war. This
Here's
is
somebody talking.
Overemphasize this. The video is basically the heart of PEP, because I spoke for about 10 or 15 years.
It's Odile.
Project
Odile, we can hear you. I'm sorry. I suggested she
Odile's
never
not
muted.
talking.
What is that?
Odile's mouth is not moving.
It sounds
No,
like
no,
me.
it's a radio somewhere.
Oh, somebody's radio's on. Yes, do please turn
She
that
was
on.
listening to the, she had clicked on the thing and it started.
Okay, so now let me go on.
You're muted, Odile.
Quickly, Judith, it's Eileen. 3 branch leaders showing up is not a failure, just FYI. That is good. You can get 3 more if you try again. But I think the video approach, the virtual approach will probably be more effective.
Okay, sounds good. So the next thing I want to report on is what PEP is doing. That we had our 3rd in-person meeting. Usually we meet by Zoom. We had an in-person meeting because I am a strong believer in the effectiveness of debate and conversation when you were talking in person with people. And at that meeting, we talked about the PEP petition parties. And we had made a list of possible things PEP could do. What do we do next? We're all set up. We have our website. We have our way to get money. We have our parties and our pages all in order. Now, what do we do next? And we had suggestions from my PEP team that were just gorgeous, gorgeous possibilities of what PEP could do in terms of going into the future. And every last one of them, almost without exception, we had to say, unfortunately, we can't do that because we don't have any money. Unfortunately, we don't have any money to do that. So we decided that thing number 1 is going to be raising money. One way or the other, we have to find resources. And some of you know about the fact that there was a call given out on Wednesday evening. I received an email talking about the Carnegie Foundation and 2 other funding groups, something called Longview, I believe, and another one called Pax Sapiens. They are funders. They have people with deep pockets who want to fund something. And what they're concerned about is nuclear harm. What do we need to do? What are the visionary ideas we have to prevent nuclear harm? Well, that's exactly what we're talking about. So so that was Wednesday evening. But the next meeting was the very next morning at 8 o'clock in the morning. So I did manage to pull myself together. And it was a very interesting thing presented by a guy from the Carnegie Institute. You couldn't see who else was there. You had no idea how many people were there. Was it 100? Was it 20? Was it 500? We have no idea, but it must be many, many, because I think they sent that email to everybody who went, for example, to the TPNW. Anyone whose email ever suggested that they had anything to do with nuclear was probably invited to come to that. Anyway, we went, and we want to put something together. We want to do it with WILPF. But everything is so rushed now. The WILPF people came. They came, and sure enough, they said, oh, let's have a brainstorming session on Monday. We're going to get together on Monday morning and we'll all brainstorm what we can do to get this money from Carnegie. And I'm flummoxed because I am not ready exactly to present to the WILPF National what I would like us to do. It would be a PEP WILPF team effort. PEP and WILPF. PEP has to offer an idea. The idea of peace systems, how you get them, what they are, that they in their existence and so on. We have that idea, and we have the idea of putting it together with a treaty, not a treaty, a petition.
Okay.
And WILF has the ability to do outreach. They're beautifully positioned for outreach. So this would be a PEP WILF project. And all I can say is at this point, one of my team members, her name is Sue Zeifman, very smart woman. She and I are working on what that would look like if we get that kind of operation, if we get that kind of agreement going with WILF National. I just want to ask one question. Based on all of your experience, how do you think is the best way for us to approach WILF National? Should we ask you all, the Disarm Committee, to somehow take our project to them? Or do we get in contact with, I believe, is Linda Lowe the person who's running? Who would be the head person I should try and contact? Cheryl?
Cheryl has her hand up.
Yes, so there were many people from WILF at this consortium information meeting. So they have a request for proposals that have to be, and they're only asking for concept ideas in less than 1,000 words, okay? You have to submit that by the 31st of July. You have to spend at least $50,000. You can spend up to $750,000 if you have a really expensive idea, okay? And I encouraged Judith. Judith was there. I knew she was there because in the Q&A there were 80 questions. 80 questions, which I copied and pasted into a Word document. So there are a lot of think tanks, there are a lot of universities who were there. There are 5 themes that they're asking for, and we only fit in one of them, okay, which is encouraging the next generation to get to nuclear disarmament, to help.
That's the only one?
No,
No,
we would fit. We would not fit in the cybersecurity. We would not fit in the satellite working. They were a lot of technical stuff. Okay, Judith, I think
I have the 5 things, and I think that PEP fits in at least 2 of them. I can't get them off the top of my head.
Right.
I'm not prepared to present yet.
Right. So I encourage Judith that her PEP idea, especially if she focuses a little more on nuclear disarmament than I think the bare bones treaty would, okay? The treaty that she's trying to get the UN to generate and countries to sign on to. The petition to do that is just the very beginning. But Judith, you've said you need help to do this, that, and the other. So you're going to pay. You can come up, I'm sure, with a $50,000 budget.
Easy.
Easy.
Really easy.
Right. So, the thing is, WILF US is used to doing things for free. We don't pay anybody. It's all volunteer work. But if we know there's $50,000, then you can hire somebody who knows how to do some of this stuff. And you can ask somebody to research a certain topic. You would pay
what
somebody.
we need to know is who at
Yeah,
WILF.
so you come to that meeting tomorrow at 1 o'clock,
Yeah.
which has been set up.
Yeah.
And essentially, all the right people will be there, okay? And there will be a brainstorm, and I will make sure that your idea is one of the ones. We can send in multiple. There's no rule against sending in multiple RFPs and multiple proposals, okay? So I can see WILF doing a whole bunch of things, okay? And it's a 1,000 word concept, all right? So, and these organizations like the Carnegie are very particular that you follow all their rules, all right?
Okay, so the only way that I'm going to be able to ask WILF National is through this meeting tomorrow?
Well, yes, you come to the meeting and then it'll be decided and worked on, okay?
Yeah, well, see, we aren't ready to present yet.
Yeah, but I know enough. I could give your speech, Judith. I've heard you give it 22 times. So no. You can, I'm sure you can do it. There'll be about 8 of us on this talk. All right.
If it's 8 people, I can do it.
Yeah, there's about 8 people. If you just look at the list of people who are getting those invitations, okay, and then look at the Zoom. All right, make sure you know what the Zoom is that you're to attend at 1 o'clock, and it's an hour and a half. Okay, I'm rearranging my whole life, as I often do, to accommodate WILPF things. Okay, so please don't feel you can't do it. I'm sure you can. Nancy, I see your hand up.
Hi, Nancy.
Hi. So Judith, I wanted to suggest to move maybe from this stage of talking to another that might be helpful is Earth Democracy Issue Committee is going to take up the fossil fuel non-proliferation treaty. And how do you take, so then the question is the same as yours, you know, how do you take that down to the branch and to the member level? So if you go up to that website, they have terrific materials. There is a huge amount of materials and information there about how to do the kind of work locally at the state level, at the congressional level, to organize around whatever level you're going to work at in the kind of materials, the kind of outreach, the kind of education, et cetera, that you need. And then they've got templates. From windmills from warheads to windmills has some of that. So I just want to say that besides the meeting tomorrow and thinking about how you want to collaborate with WILPF and how to reach out to branches, if you look at some of these other groups, you know, that are trying to do huge things, the way they're organizing to do that and the kind of materials they have is very helpful.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you put the name of that group? It slipped past me. What could it please put that in the chat, the name of that group.
Okay.
Because I forget things. So
Sure. I'll do that.
Anyway, I'll see you tomorrow, Cheryl, at that meeting.
Yeah.
I'll be there too.
Right. There'll be several of
too.
us who are in this meeting, will be at that meeting, plus a few more people. And I was just trying to post the 5 themes.
Oh, I'd love to see that.
Into the, but I've gone over some character limit on the chat.
Could you
sorry.
send it to us by email?
You have it, Nancy.
Oh, I do. That's right, I do.
It's
I
in the
do.
website of.
Yeah.
Okay, you know what I will do instead is I'm going to give you the Zoom link or the URL to all the description that the Carnegie has put up to help people put the. So sorry, I'm going to delete what I was trying to put, and instead I'm going to ask you to go to their website. They're expecting people who run these enormous modeling programs to model things. They're expecting people who know how satellites work and how they could be used, and people who know all about cybersecurity. So you know, there's a.
And what's the website?
I'm trying to bring it up so it doesn't have all the UTM business that comes at the end. Oh, I'm just going to send it to you. Ignore everything that comes after the ampersand, because that just says it comes from an email that I picked up. Okay.
How about recruiting young people to do voter initiatives to bring Norton's bill to the legislators?
Well, if you think you can write something that would take $50,000 to do, yes, then
No, I'm not good at that.
Shouldn't it be a combined WILPF group submission?
Yeah.
Well,
so WILPF will probably submit with many different groups.
I mean,
I'm just hoping that one of the groups that they're going to be willing to partner with is PEP. I hope there can be a PEP WILPF partnership. And I will eventually try and explain what that partnership would be doing.
Right. So
is it possible to bring in a couple of the interns to offer suggestions for a grant on what youth might want to do and willing to do?
I've already sent to that group the two youth organizations that I'm familiar with who work on nuclear disarmament. Okay. Eileen, are you on? I don't remember. I don't think you're on that email list. But those who are on the email list got from me late last night. There's a European network, hundreds. There are hundreds of groups, youth groups in Europe and India and the Middle East. I'm not sure about the Middle East. I take that back. But anyway, outside the US, who are working on nuclear disarmament as youth. Okay, the Basel Peace Office already helps them. Okay, they have an award called the Pacey Award.
Excuse me, Carol, I'm talking about the interns we have who are American, who are working with Diana. That's what I'm talking about.
Yes, so I think they don't know enough to be useful at a brainstorming session. They would be the kind of people that I would ask later. All right. So there is an organization run by Back from the Brink of Students for Nuclear Disarmament.
Okay.
But Back from the Brink runs it. And I would well imagine that Back from the Brink will submit an RFP, a proposal to the consortium, because they're not going to want to partner with us because they've already got their own stuff going with youth. All right. So you have to imagine who is it that might be a good partner, and are they already going to know enough that they don't need us?
You've considered it, and okay, it wouldn't work. I get it. Thank you.
But there are, you know, so yes, these are the kind of thing, those of us who will be in the meeting tomorrow at 1 o'clock, my time, will be mulling over and discussing. And, you know, we have till the 31st of July to actually produce this 1,000 word document with a budget and the name of the principal investigator and you know who's likely to be working on it. These are all the things that they will be. And yes, we're a 501c4, but we have a 501c3 that is our fiscal sponsor, and apparently that's okay.
Yes, it's okay.
Okay, is Linda
They
Lowe
don't
there?
want a lot of detail.
Linda Lowe will be there, yes.
What's easy? Is that the answer to my question about Linda Lowe? What is her position with WILPF?
She's our executive director, Judith.
Yeah, I just asked that question. The answer was yes. Okay.
Could you tune me in and get me in on this meeting at 1? It sounds like something, I don't
Yeah,
know.
Eileen, I think you'd be good to be there.
Okay.
Well, I'm not so sure. I may drive myself crazy with busyness, but
Right,
I will sit in and see if I can slip some things in.
Is somebody going to do it, or should I send it to her?
Would you send it to her? Because I'm looking at my timing here. I'm about to go heat up my dinner, which is sitting in the microwave waiting for me to heat it up so that I can leave at 6:25 to get to my theater. But
Right, yeah, thanks, Judith.
Yeah, I'll go downstairs when we're done and send the link to you.
Right, but I think we're actually doing pretty well, believe it or not, in the timing.
Could I ask you, Cheryl, was there any response to the issues of containment and processing?
I don't know.
When you were at the meeting, the first
at
meeting?
the meeting, they did not go into the details.
I see. Okay, fine.
I think your idea, how to deal with all the waste at Hanford and things like that, is what you will, and you know, the fact that we haven't yet found a good casket that can keep the waste.
Right.
But there are groups who work on that. You know, there are groups with experts, and we're not experts. So, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't try. Try.
No, but at Hanford, you know, it's the communities around there who have been so shocked and are organizing. It's not necessarily, I mean, they're trying to create the sense of urgency after all these many years. So I do think there's a component of local community action.
So, but the overall, it is all about reducing the risk from nuclear weapons. That is kind of the overarching theme. It's a reducing risk, I think, is here we are, report. It's called Supporting Reducing Nuclear Dangers, nuclear dangers. So yes, the danger from
So-
radioactive waste that is leaking out of canisters, and the fact we don't have yet a working deep underground
Yeah.
cave to put things in.
Well, nobody wants it in Nevada.
Right. So yes, if you can work out a 1,000 word idea, you know, along those lines, then I would say put it in as a Earth Democracy part of WILPF US.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, I really don't see that we should, you know, we can have multiple ones. They said they don't care.
Well, it would be the WILPF, it would be a WILPF project that would
Yes.
have these different strands to it.
You
No,
would put
some
it
of
in
them
as your
could be
own. You would put it
partnerships.
as in a separate idea. Judith's idea goes in as a separate idea.
No, my idea's got to go in, well, at least
Well,
I
as part of
envision it as
WILPF,
a
yes. As part of,
team effort.
yes, it's a team effort as part of WILPF. But there's no rule, they told us during that meeting, there's no rule that an institute or an NGO can't submit multiple ideas in separate
Okey-doke.
things, okay?
Okay.
By the way, PEP isn't addressing technical things of the nature that Cheryl was describing. The whole approach to PEP, you know, is to do away with international warfare. And if you do away successfully with international warfare, nuclear weapons become obsolete.
Right, right. Mhm.
That is the PEP idea.
Right, you've got to,
We
but
can
you've got to bring
stop
that out.
international warfare.
Right.
And then you can reduce nuclear risk. It will almost happen over time because they will be obsolete, and no company has to pay for them, pay for making them, pay for storing them, the danger of getting rid of them, the danger of pollution. We just need to end wars between nations. That's our pitch.
Mhm.
Now you're going to say that isn't possible. And that's what our video is about. Yes, in fact, it is possible to do it if you know what you're doing and what the goal is.
Well, we certainly need something different.
Well, we're hoping that they will think that that is different, that is not what the standard thing is. That's not what everyone else is doing. And I think that's safe to say that it's not what everyone else is doing.
Right. They want new ideas, innovation. They're always looking for different ideas that nobody's doing yet. And that's why I think Judith's idea is a fine thing.
I think it will intrigue them.
Mhm.
I hope.
And that we need equal representation of women and men at the table.
At the table, right? That would be part of it.
Absolutely. That's one of the unique things that we'll probably mention. I'm not sure because we haven't figured it out yet, but you know, PEP is a woman-inspired and woman-led, and it focuses on children. That is a little bit different. There are a lot of things about PEP that are not the usual.
Well,
but fit right in with WILPF.
Okay, I think we can move on now, can't we, to
yes, for sure,
7 or 8, which is the working with other issue committees. Maybe Nancy, you've said enough now.
Have I said enough?
I don't know. You're in
Did
there.
you give us a report from your committee, Nancy?
From Earth Democracy Committee?
Mm-hmm.
Sure. My quick report would be that the Earth Democracy is going to be working on, we finally narrowed down and refined our master list. We will have projects or campaigns, we aren't quite decided, on microplastic and contamination, oceans and on all the manifestations of the good and the bad that's harming oceans right now, PFAS, of course, and climate justice, women and peace.
That's a lot.
Well, it's not as much as Disarm. It's not
Yeah,
as
but
much as
we
some of
have
the
more
other committees, so it's pared down from what we were thinking of having before. So I would say congratulate us on progress.
Right.
Okay, congratulations.
This is de-development.
Okay, the next thing is
Ho,
Middle
ho,
East.
ho, 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 please, Earth Democracy, just plug. Weekend. I spent 6 days with Indigenous women predominantly in a number of nations, including the United States, as we can with Osprey Lake, moderating many of the panels. Very comprehensive, calling for people to, particularly women from all over, to organize to be ready for COP, which of course COP30 is coming up in Brazil this year in November. I was very inspired. They are emphasizing the Declaration of Nature's Rights, or the right of nature, which I am affiliating or lining up in my mind with Eleanor Roosevelt's human rights, Declaration of Human Rights, that Eleanor followed, because the indigenous believe we are nature. We would normally say we are part of nature, but they are more firm. They said, we are nature. We're all together. Just look at us. We're made of water. Mostly water, basically, is what they're saying. And it's true. I was very impressed. There's a lot of YouTubes that are available to watch some of these things. It was worthwhile. It was 1 to 6 for 6 days.
Yeah, it was brilliant. I think, yeah, you and I could send out a notice about that to the committees.
I could do that. I actually made notes, but not adequately for this kind of well,
but I think if you
let's talk later.
We'll talk, yeah.
Okay, the next one is Middle East Peace and Justice Action Committee. Their request for our action. Cheryl, can you explain that?
So I see via WILPF branches, because I'm not actually on the Middle East Justice and Action Committee email list, but I am on the WILPF branches email list. And I see Jeannie Silver, I believe is her name,
Yes.
sending things saying, please do this and do that and do the other. And so, this is all to do with the awful situation in Gaza.
Yeah.
Currently, and then we added this issue of Iran, which I think we consider is kind of the Middle East, Iran being bombed. So those of you, and then I'm sure you're all getting emails from other organizations. So please follow through with what you're being asked to do, which is mostly phoning your congressperson and saying, vote against sending more weapons to Israel, okay? Because, as you know,
and please don't kill people who are coming to eat.
Right, and things like that. So that's what I meant. And we talked about the Middle East earlier in the meeting, so I think we don't need to say any more.
Global Women for Peace.
Right.
United against NATO. Somebody, Nancy.
Yeah, I can do that very quickly. So if you go to the website, which is womenagainst NATO.org, the second video we did for this most recent NATO summit is up. You can watch that. There's very good text that is spoken as the pictures of women holding signs from many different countries. I think it must be 25, 30, 35 countries. It's done extremely well. And then if you go to that website, but go to the menu of media and more, you'll see some more reports and useful fact sheets. So that's, there'll be more material put up in the coming weeks, let's say, but that's what's up there now. the video number 2, and then go to media and media and more for some fact sheets and reports. Thank you very much.
I wanted to say on NATO that I just saw that NATO just raised their budget considerably in the French Instagram. I got a very long report about that. So far, even though there is huge amount of people there and huge amount of teaching, it's not really working to diminish the power of NATO. NATO is increasing.
So I actually attended, I got up early to attend the live stream of the meeting that was held in a cafe near The Hague, or in
You couldn't
Town
hear
Hall, The Hague.
anything. I did too.
Yes, and the sound was awful.
Yeah.
Things didn't work, and I stuck with it, and I kept writing. I wrote to, I could see Anne Wright was sitting there when they
Yeah,
showed
but it got
Yes.
better toward the end.
I know.
Yeah.
That's because Anne Wright,
A
I
little
wrote
bit
and said, do
better.
something. Anyway, so I believe that recording will be up eventually.
Yeah,
Because
it
the
will.
recording will be better because it was going directly into the microphone. Anyway, but there was been huge demonstrations in The Hague against NATO. Okay,
Right.
so there wasn't just the 22 people you could see in that room in that
No, it was a huge demonstration.
huge demonstration. So and what Odile is talking about is that Trump at the summit that was happened the next few days, managed to twist everybody's arm that they have to spend 5% of their GDP on NATO. Okay, it used to be 3%. Some people were getting away with
2%.
It's now gone up to 5%. This is what.
Yes, but it's broken down into 2 parts. 3.5% is the purely military part. That would be equipment and et cetera, et cetera. And the 1.5 is to upgrade roads, bridges, ports, airfields, et cetera, which of course help support the various military actions. And Spain was holding out and said that they could only do 2% or 2.1, and so they were given what would you say? I don't know, permission. They just asserted themselves that that's all they could do if they were going to continue to fund social services. So that was kind of a victory for Spain. And I don't know, it doesn't look like other countries are going to follow the Spain example, unfortunately. And Trump, there's a newsletter that's been put out by the White House where all sorts of people in Congress are quoted saying things like, it's the birth of a new NATO. There are going to be no more free riders. The EU countries are now going to have to pay up. Anyway, it goes on and on like that. It's pretty distressing. I can send you the link to that newsletter that they sent out. It's very disgusting.
I just want to point out something that's, I think, very significant. It may be a pattern that's going to continue. It was brought up at the this global thing that WeCan had, and so I did some research. I think it was 2.5% increase in GDP for the US the last quarter of 2024, but for January, February, March of this year, it was minus, I guess it was, 0.05%. So a 0.5% decrease for the first quarter of this year. That is, for me, a warning that, well, we could go into depression, or we can just say, hey, it's time to not rely on the GDP and look at other markings of what shows improvement within our country, like the well-being of human beings.
Daytime.
Okay. Thank you. Now we have 9 problem with radioactive waste, working with ANA, and that would be Angie, Whitehurst, or Pam are 5 minutes. But
Andy
they're
has
not
not
here.
turned up, but Ellen maybe can speak to this.
Helen Thomas?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
It's on our agenda. We have problem with radioactive waste, working with ANA, report on the recent ANA DC Day by Angie Whitehurst and Angie Whitehurst and Pam are. So they're not here. So do you have anything to report?
No.
Okay, then we should jump to advocate to end to war in Ukraine. See agenda item 4. Did we speak about
Yes,
that already?
we did that. I just
We
want to
did.
say that we gave Angie Whitehouse $200 to attend that meeting and prepare a video.
$150.
$150, okay?
She said she was going to come. I don't know
Right.
what came up, but we'll have her. I'll make sure she comes. We need
Another
her
time.
for-
Or
Okay,
maybe
thank
she can post online a report.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next thing now, it's committee support project report. 3 minutes. I don't know what that is. Committee support project report. Cheryl.
No, it's the treasurer. I'm sorry, I mean.
Or the committee support project report. Treasure report, yeah, I see.
I don't have anything. There's no change.
Okay. Set up for future disarm committee meeting.
Right, I think everybody knows this date. It's the second Sunday in the month. And just to remind you that we're meeting on the 24th instead of the 31st of August.
On the 24th instead of the 31st.
Right. And under any other business, I would like to say that if you read your My Wealth that comes from International Wealth, they are beginning thinking about the international program for the next 3 or 4 years. And there will be a meeting tomorrow. It's at morning, it's at 3 a.m. my time. I'm not willing to get up for 3 a.m. I'm hoping those of you who read your My Wealth will get up at 6 a.m., those of you who are on the East Coast, and attend this meeting. You'll recall that we did a lot of work, well, I did with Janet Slater on the international program, what we thought WILPF International should be doing for the next 3 years. And absolutely none of the things we suggested got into the program.
Oh,
okay. It
that's
was very
terrible.
disappointing. Yes, it was very disappointing. And Janet and I are bound and determined not to let it happen again. So, but because they're having I wrote to them, I said, oh dear, it's 3 a.m. in the morning. I'm not coming to that meeting. I hope you're going to have another meeting. But those of you who are on the East Coast and can get up for 6 a.m., those early birds amongst you, maybe you could attend this meeting where women from all over the world in WILPF will be talking about strategizing what the next.
I don't have that link.
Okay, so
I don't either. Yeah.
I really would have liked to attended such a meeting.
I'm sorry, you. I thought. Okay, when I come back from my play tonight, I'll send it out again. Okay, but right now I have to finish my dinner.
Oh no, I'm also not going to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning. I wonder if they're going to schedule them so that they might have a time.
Yes, they said they would. They said they'd have. This is just the beginning of a very long process that WILPF International takes to develop a program. So it's not the last time. It's not our last opportunity.
I recognize myself, but maybe we could send them a letter of what our wish are for the program.
Yes, we did that last year.
Well, we
Last time,
could do
Odile.
it again, and maybe in beginning we could say, we did this last year, but you didn't take in consideration any of our suggestions. So we do hope that this year we can get in with a few suggestions.
So we have Janet Slagter is our official liaison to this whole process.
Well,
Okay?
maybe she could say something about
Yeah,
that.
so that is why we're not ready to say what, because we need within US, WILPF, to discuss what would we like to see on the international scene.
That's right.
And then eventually we will submit that. It's not something we can submit right now, Odile.
When is it? When do they want it?
Well, the starting meeting is at 3 a.m. tomorrow morning.
No, when do they want this?
They haven't said.
Oh, they haven't said, okay.
I personally
you
would like to start seeing some kind of accreditation of human rights, because this is really discussing the human right is completely forgotten.
Hey, come on, don't forget nature's rights. It's a combination. We are part of nature. That's what
Okay,
I'm going to put
human
for.
right and all beings' right.
There you go. And all little beings, even germs, we need them to live. So this meeting is tomorrow morning at 6?
Your time.
Yeah, I can make it because I just had a good nap. I'll be up early tomorrow.
All right.
But yeah, I do need that link. I'll look
We
for
need
it,
the link.
Carol, and I'll set my clock.
Cheryl can send. She said she will send us a link once she ate her dinner.
Well, or after she comes back from her play. I don't
Ate my
know.
dinner and been to the play, which is going without intermission. I can't afford to get there late. So,
Yeah.
I'm eating
What's
my
the
dinner.
play? What's the play?
It's about, it's a brand new musical about Jimmy Dean, the famous singer, actor, and his fan club. 20 years later, the fan club gets together and thinks about what's happened to them in the 20 years. Anyway, I subscribe to the Theatre Works, and it's just part of my subscription. I just go to the plays, you know.
Good for you.
Good for
Thank
you.
you, everybody.
I used to
That's two
usher
of
at
us saying
3
good for you.
playhouses.
Okay, this is 2 hours.
Oh boy, time to wrap up.